Hi there. So there were a lot of you after the meeting last night, or a few people after the meeting last night who just reached out to me and asked if I could please share the Excel spreadsheet that I use. When this comes now, we're talking about targeted adverts and then what I do with those leads and how I do my follow up. So I'm very, very happy to share this sheet with you. I just thought, let me just take about just a few minutes to talk you through the sheets, and it might work for you, it might not. Maybe I've overcomplicated it. I mean, I can guarantee you this is a lot more simple than what I first initially was doing. But I just feel that I'm the kind of person who comes from a background where I have my to-do lists and I tick it off and it makes me feel accomplished. And I tend to juggle too much at once. So this gives me direction. It's repetition. It's what I do on a daily basis when I sit down and I do my doTERRA leads from my targeted adverts. So let me do a screen share over here and then I will show you what I'm speaking about. So this is just a document that I have printed out and laminated. So it's repetitive. Sorry, so it's repetitive. I do it on a daily basis. I can put the date on at the top. This was especially helpful for me in the beginning to give me some form of a routine. I actually initially had made my own diary with this, and I realized that that didn't work quite well for me. So now it's just something that I refer to on a daily basis. So you can absolutely laminate it. You can whatever works for you. And there's a bit at the bottom here where you can put any notes. So I basically make sure that I do all of these actions on a daily basis. And then when I download my leads from the Facebook advert, I paste them straight over here. It will automatically put the date. Now, ignore these names. Don't worry too much about this. I've just kind of put this on my template as an explanation for you to show you how it kind of all comes together. But the more you do this, the more it'll come together for you. So this is my little conveyor belt at the bottom. So firstly, I would then I don't necessarily have to go in order. In the beginning, it was first downloading my new leads and emailing my new leads. Now I tend to focus on making sure that my reminders are sent out. So it doesn't really matter which way you go according to on the daily actions. So I always make sure every day I send out my reminders for the intro class today. So that's with the link for the class on a WhatsApp. I also send in my reminders for my intro class tomorrow. I send reminders for my today Zoom calls and my tomorrow Zoom calls. And then now I know that I'm organized as far as all the meetings go. And then I download my new leads and I put them into the spreadsheet. And I've maybe asked them questions depending on what questions you've asked. I ask questions like if you're a customer, a wellness advocate, maybe you want to do both. So then I could put in a B for both, or I could just type the word both in. So this would be a customer, wellness advocate, or both. Any experience with essential oils is a question I ask as well. And okay, so sometimes people will book directly into Calendly, and then they might have an introduction class date set before I've even had the opportunity to have other touches with them, and or any touches with them other than my advertisement. And sometimes it takes a little bit more than just to get them into class. But either way, whether or not they're in a class, I still try and put them through the same system. So generally, I always have a gap between my days because, okay, this is just 2 leads a day, just as an example to illustrate the rhythm that it kind of sets. And sometimes there might be 7, sometimes there might be 11, sometimes there might be 3. It all depends on what's happening with my leads. I also put in my ad pool leads in this format as well. And then I always send out my first email on HubSpot. And if they booked into a Calendly class or through Calendly into a class, they would get an automated email. So then I would make a cross. I'll load their details onto my cell phone and I'll send my first WhatsApp. And when I make sure it's either a WhatsApp or an SMS, so you'll see here, for example, there's a WhatsApp. There's no cross by the WhatsApp because maybe the number doesn't work. I might make a note, not getting too technical, but it's just initially to make sure that I'm able to contact them. Maybe their email bounced back. So I know I would make it a red cross maybe, because I know that I need to contact them somehow and try and get the email address correct. Then I've got space here for my before class calls. Sometimes these are just examples. Sometimes, yes, I managed to get through to them. It'll become a cross. Maybe there's no answer. Maybe I left a message or it went through. Maybe the phone was off. So it just shows that I've made attempts to contact them. And then we move over to the touches. Now, these touches I like to have in terms of videos, some form of content that is interesting for them. So not just necessarily a, hey, how you doing, but the touches are more for me about the information that they're getting. So on my front page over here with all my leads, none of these have actually yet been booked necessarily, had touches from me. They might have booked because of first contact. Then what I'll do is I will basically, now Mary has booked. So, and I've had a before class call, whichever way it works. Maybe I didn't have a before class call. I will simply copy Mary's details over here and I will paste them. So everything at the top here is the same. However, what's happened here afterwards is not the same on my booked leads. I make sure I go back and I delete Mary from my system because Mary is now underbooked. Now, the way that I remember my leads is because of my dates. The date, it will automatically put a date in there if it's from the ad pool. If it's, if it's from your own targeted advert. If it's from the ad pool, I'll just put my own date that I got the lead sent emailed to me. So then I come into the booked class, the booked section, and I will have the date that the class has been booked for. I always try as hard as I possibly can to get a before class call. And then I will simply go back and forth between my daily actions document and my spreadsheet. And when it comes to needing to confirm my bookings, once they book, I automatically make sure that I send a confirmation booking, whether it be by email. I generally do both. And then I have my 1 day reminder. I have my today reminder. I have maybe they did not come onto a class. So I would be attended, it would be a no-show, or it would be a network or something like that. And then I know that I need to keep on following them up, and I will do a same day follow-up after the class because they didn't attend, and I'll make sure that they're okay. Maybe something happened. I won't just write it off. I will find out if they're still interested. Would they like to book onto another class? I do my 3 day follow-up and then I do my 1 week follow-up. And then I decide what I want to do thereafter. So you can fill in whatever it is that you want to do. Then now Mary attends the class. So now I would take Mary from this side, and now she's actually attended the class. So she goes into now the different section of my conveyor belt. So I've had the before class call. It doesn't worry about the touches because regardless, they need to have all those touches before they come onto a class. So I know they've had that. Then the after class call is once they've just finished. Maybe you're not doing your own classes and they're on a different class. Maybe you haven't arranged a Zoom yet. So there will always be an after class call in that situation. Or maybe you've arranged a Zoom. So there won't be an after class call, but you've already invited them onto a Zoom. And then you would put in your Zoom date. So Mary was on, and I was very fortunate enough to secure the same date as she was on the class. And sometimes they attend the class, sometimes they don't. So if they've attended the class, it will be a yes, or it will be a no, and I will continue with my touches to try and make them get onto the Zoom class again. If they haven't attended the Zoom class, I will simply make it red because they haven't attended. Now, if they've booked into a class, then obviously I go back and I take Mary off these details. Now, let's say Mary booked into a class, but she never attended. So while I'm doing that no-show, as I've said there, let me just show you there, I would then make it red as well. So I know who to go back to while I'm following my sheet. So as you can see here, it's my daily actions. I just basically follow the system. This is how I work through my new leads and how I don't forget about them. I follow up missed classes, followed up attended classes, follow up attended Zooms, and I all go according to sort of this sheet. And then once they're enrolled, I put the details in here and I put them on their last kind of conveyor belt until they're in all the team groups and they are on a weekly, maybe a weekly team, weekly call with me, or, you know, according to their own pace as well. So now when you come back to these leads, you actually will now go, for example, WhatsApp new leads. So I will WhatsApp my new leads. I'll go all the way to the bottom and I will WhatsApp my new leads. So I would have put the 2 crosses there. My next sheet, my next thing to do is, where are we? WhatsApp follow up 3 days ago and my weekly leads. So 3 days ago, eventually what will happen is you can see these crosses. It'll be easy to see where you've last left off. So you know that it's 3 days ago. So you are going to then kind of start where you kind of left off, because they'll eventually become weekly and they'll eventually become monthly. So now my 3 days ago would have been, I would need to now get hold of Anna and Nicola, and I'll do my 4th touch with them, and I'll be doing my 3rd touch with Kim and Unati, and I'll be doing my 2nd touch with Gagana and Pamela. And that is how this spreadsheet kind of helps me to stay on top of my leads and making sure that I don't forget about anybody on the way. And of course, if somebody says that they're not interested, then I will take them out of that system, because there's nothing worse than pestering them. If they're not interested, I would always say, oh, well, would you be keen to get any more information from me? And I'll find out from them, because I really don't want to pester them. I've come across a lot of people that have had bad experiences in these types of environments, and I don't want to put more people through that. So I hope this helps. And that, you know, if it works, great. Let me know if you have other suggestions. I'm so happy to hear any of that. Thanks so much. Cheers.